300,000 years ago, humans gave birth in freezing climates, open environments, and precarious living conditions. Common birthing sites included rock shelters or temporary tents made from bones and animal hides. Outdoor temperatures could drop below -20 degrees Celsius. In such environments, childbirth was a high-risk behavior and consumed significant resources. The infant mortality rate was extremely high. Excavated skeletons show that many children died within weeks of birth. Causes included hypothermia, infections, birth complications, nutritional deficiency, and accidental injuries. Birth was mechanical and direct. Women typically gave birth in a seated or kneeling position, assisted by others in the group if available. With no medical tools, birthing relied on experience, observation, and intergenerational knowledge. Some groups may have used herbal remedies to reduce pain or stop bleeding, though material evidence is limited. Newborns were kept warm through direct body contact with the mother. Skin-to-skin contact helped regulate temperature naturally. Externally, furs or animal hides served as additional insulation. This warming process was essential, as infants couldn't self-regulate body temperature in extreme cold. The only postnatal food source was breast milk. In times of food scarcity, producing enough milk was a physiological challenge. Bone studies suggest prehistoric women showed signs of mineral deficiency due to calcium loss during pregnancy and breastfeeding. Cross-nursing may have existed, another woman in the group feeding the child if the biological mother died or couldn't provide. Contrary to the assumption that prehistoric children were disregarded, archaeology shows the opposite. Infant graves have been found with grave goods like shells, beads, and miniature tools. Burial pits were often placed within living areas, near fire pits or shelters, signs of emotional and communal attachment. A newborn's survival depended on several factors: the mother's health, the environment, social support, and innate survival instincts. Homo sapiens infants had accelerated brain development. In the first 2 years, possibly an evolutionary advantage in acquiring life skills earlier than other primates. Infants had physiological traits for adaptation, higher fat ratio for insulation, well-developed sucking and grasping reflexes, and passive immunity from maternal antibodies. However, these mechanisms only worked effectively if the environment was stable, something rare during the Ice Age. Successful reproduction determined group survival. Every surviving child extended ancestral genetics, culture, and knowledge. Groups that raised infants more successfully saw higher population growth, broader territory expansion, more cultural exchange, and long-term continuity. In this ancient biological context, an infant surviving winter wasn't a miracle. It was the outcome of evolved physiology, mutual care behaviors, and survival strategies refined over millions of years of human evolution. Part 2. Playing with danger. Childhood during the Ice Age was not defined by shelter or protection. Homo sapiens and Neanderthal children grew up in wild environments where every behavior was tied to survival. Play was the primary learning mechanism. There were no lessons, no classrooms, just observation, experimentation, and repetition. Climbing developed motor coordination. Throwing stones improved accuracy, a vital hunting skill. Chasing games honed fitness and evasive reflexes. Archaeological evidence shows children fully participated in shared living spaces. Small footprints are found alongside adults at ancient sites. Some miniature stone tools, too small for adult hands, may have been made specifically for children to learn. These weren't toys in the modern sense, but simplified replicas of real tools for practice. In caves like Gargas, France, and El Castillo, Spain, children's handprints are found on cave walls. They may have taken part in collective art or simply mimicked adults. While their exact intent remains unknown, the data indicates children weren't excluded from ritual or expressive community activities. The living environment was filled with hazards: frozen rivers, predators, unstable terrain, and sudden weather shifts. There was no concept of a safe play zone. But exposure to danger didn't mean neglect. Adults observed, intervened when necessary, but didn't micromanage. Social learning models likely formed early. Children learned by copying older individuals. A girl watches her mother forage edible roots. A boy follows his father to check traps. These acts gradually shape specialized skills. Modern hunter-gatherers like the Hadza, Tanzania, and Bayaka, Congo, provide analogs. There, children from ages 4 to 6 move freely in groups. By 8, they start food gathering, trap setting, even small-scale hunting. Similar behaviors may have existed hundreds of thousands of years ago. Studies of time organization in such groups show children spend 30 to 40% of their time playing, mostly unstructured play. These games reflect real life, mock battles, role play, miniature model building. Through them, children learn problem solving, strategy, and physical limits. There's no direct evidence of toys, but smoothed animal bones, perforated stones, and curved decorated sticks could be play or training objects. Though their exact function is uncertain, their presence reflects curiosity, creativity, and early experimentation. Evolutionary psychology suggests play is highly adaptive. It enables skill practice in a low-risk setting. For prehistoric children, play was the only preparation for the future, not a career future, but the future of survival. No fences, no fixed boundaries. Survival skills were forged through hands-on interaction with nature. Children were both learners and explorers. Even the simplest early games became the foundation for later hunting, crafting, communication, and organization. Part 3. Learning to survive. Prehistoric children had no schools, but they were trained continuously by the living world around them. Learning began early and came solely through observation, imitation, and direct experience. Every adult behavior was input data. A child watches a mother distinguish between edible and toxic roots. Another quietly memorizes how a father hides traps. Every gesture, every decision, from how to grip a knife to how to read the wind, was stored in memory. Learning had no curriculum. It was flexible, random, and cumulative. Children learned to make rope from tendons, pick the right stones for blades, and separate meat from bone without damaging tools. Repeated motion led to skill. Knowledge was transmitted through storytelling, behavioral demonstration, and on-site guidance. An elder recounts getting lost in the woods, how to orient using sunlight, animal tracks, or bird calls. No theory, just vivid stories and real scenarios. Memory was not written. Everything depended on recall and behavioral mimicry. Children learned quickly, as young brains absorb information and form motor patterns with high efficiency. This was a critical phase where mistakes could be fatal, so learning instincts were at their peak. Studies from modern foraging groups like the Hadza, Tanzania, Bayaka, Congo, and Inuit, Canada, show children start learning survival skills around ages 3 to 4. By 6, many could gather food, use simple tools, and contribute to group labor. These findings support the idea that 300,000 years ago, similar systems existed. Archaeological evidence supports this. At sites like Schöningen, Germany, wooden tools were found with children's hand traces, suggesting they didn't just observe, they crafted. 2-meter-long wooden spears with sharpened tips might have been training models. Learning and labor were intertwined. Children could be tasked with maintaining fire, boiling water, guarding camp, sorting plants, or checking animal tracks. These tasks formed a foundation for more complex skills like hunting, shelter building, first aid, and navigation. Maturity was based on action, not age. A child who could build a snow shelter or treat minor wounds with herbs was considered independent. No graduation ceremony, just one standard: survive and contribute. In a world of scarce resources and shifting environments, quick and precise learning separated survivors from extinct groups. That's why training the next generation couldn't be delayed. Instead of extending childhood, prehistoric humans compressed the transition to adulthood by fusing learning and doing into a single survival-driven system. Part 4. Disease, injury, and death. Child mortality in prehistoric times was high. In many ancient populations, 50 to 60% of children died before adulthood. Causes included hypothermia, malnutrition, infections, accidents, and untreatable congenital disorders. Bone analysis from sites like La Ferracie, France, Sungir, Russia, and Kafzay, Israel, reveal trauma, unhealed fractures, and signs of bone marrow infection were common. Without antibiotics or sterilization, open wounds could lead to sepsis. Serious bone breaks often meant death, especially in young children. Accidental injury was ever present. Sharp rocks, slippery ice, open fires, wild animals. Children had to move constantly to learn, meaning frequent risks. Broken teeth, skull injuries, and misaligned long bones serve as clear evidence. Children's immature immune systems made them vulnerable to respiratory infections, gastrointestinal diseases, and parasites. Without clean water or sanitation, worm infestations, chronic diarrhea, and malnutrition often prove fatal. The result was a vicious cycle. Undernourishment weakened immunity, disease accelerated decline. Yet archaeology shows children weren't abandoned. Child graves were carefully dug and arranged. Some included shell ornaments, beads, or tool replicas. Body positioning, grave location, and botanical traces suggest attentive burial rituals. Some skeletons show children with birth defects, spinal deformities, cranial malformations, missing limbs, who lived to age 4 to 6. This proves they were cared for long enough to survive early development. It hints at group mechanisms for supporting vulnerable individuals through shared resources and protection. Modern anthropology finds that in foraging societies, childcare is communal, not just parental. This strategy likely dates back to prehistoric times, increasing survival odds in unstable conditions. From an evolutionary lens, investing in offspring, even with high risk, was biologically worthwhile if survival rates allowed population renewal. Thus, childcare, protection, and burial became part of early social systems. Beyond biology, careful burial reflects awareness of children's roles in the group. Though they contributed no labor, they represented the group's future, its next vessel of knowledge. Losing a child meant losing investment, hope, and genetics. A stable community depended on children surviving to adulthood. During climate crises or resource shortages, groups with better childcare strategies had an evolutionary edge. Death in early life wasn't rare, but how humans responded through burial, pre-death care, and adjusted parenting marked the emergence of complex social structure. Part 5. What childhood left us. Some core behaviors in modern children trace directly to prehistory. They aren't random. They're products of natural selection over hundreds of thousands of years. Chasing games aren't mere fun. They come from predator-prey chases, vital survival skills for Homo sapiens. Peekaboo stimulates startle reflexes, heart regulation, and enemy detection, like hiding from stalking predators. Crying when separated is an ancient alert mechanism. In the wild, getting lost meant death. Infants cry to draw attention and summon adults. This mechanism still exists in modern children's brains. Neuroscience shows ages 0 to 5 are crucial for brain structure and function. This is when social bonding, language, emotional response, and threat assessment form. Brain areas for emotion, memory, and behavior are highly active. Learning through play remains effective today. Educational models like Montessori or Reggio Emilia mirror ancient learning. Play, observe, mimic, and group interact, all aligned with our inherited neural architecture. Other instinctive behaviors, picking up small objects, building structures, or pretend play, reflect past survival training. These aren't just games, but mental rehearsals of ancient life scenarios. From a genetic perspective, childhood is optimal for social behavior programming. Prehistoric survival favored groups that cooperated and shared. So children developed brains suited for bonding, observing, and responding to adult signals. Language, one of humanity's greatest breakthroughs, also starts in early childhood. Speech, listening, and response are central to Homo sapiens' brain development strategy. Vocabulary, tone, and syntax are absorbed naturally through social immersion. Prehistoric biological traces didn't vanish with modern society. They persist in genetics, neural responses, and children's learning behavior. Clinging to mothers, facial recognition, turning toward unfamiliar sounds, these are inherited legacies. Combined archaeological, evolutionary, and neurological evidence shows modern childhood is an extended variant of prehistoric childhood. Though physical environments changed, our behavioral foundation remains. Understanding ancient childhood helps decode today's education, identity formation, and social responses. It enables better developmental models, more aligned with human evolutionary nature. Childhood is a key phase in Homo sapiens' survival journey. What remains of it isn't just fossils, it's in how every child learns, reacts, and connects with the world around them.